Sai Ram. Welcome to the class on human health and disease. In the last class, we discussed about health and disease and their definitions and various infectious diseases based on the microorganisms causing them. In today's class, we are going to talk about how a human body responds to various diseases. So basically, we are going to talk about immunity. So before we start the class, here are the answers for the questionnaire we had in the last class. The first question was, what is health? As we spoke, health is not just about physical health. It is a complete physical, mental and social well-being. That's the first question. And the next one is, what is disease and what are the types of diseases? Disease, as we spoke, is lack of ease. There is no comfortable situation. So what happens in disease? The function of an organ or an organ system is affected, and it is characterized by various signs and symptoms. Types of diseases are infectious and non-infectious diseases. Infectious diseases spread, they are contagious, and non-infectious diseases are person-specific. The next question is, what is the test done to detect typhoid? If you remember, typhoid affects the digestive system. It is caused by Salmonella typhi, a bacterial infection, and the test done is Widal test. Name two diseases caused by protozoans. They are amoebiasis and malaria. Amoebiasis again affects the digestive system, and the pathogen that causes amoebiasis is Entamoeba histolytica. Next is malaria. Malaria is also protozoan disease caused by Plasmodium. What is the vector in malaria? Here we spoke about pathogen and vector. Pathogen is the disease causing microorganism, whereas a vector is the one that carries the pathogen. So in malaria the vector is mosquito. It is a female Anopheles mosquito. Next, what are the two hosts in which the life cycle of Plasmodium is completed in malaria? If you remember, it is human body and female Anopheles mosquito. What happens in the human body? The Plasmodium enters the human body, goes to the liver cells, attacks the liver cells, and then it goes to RBCs, attacks the RBCs, and then remains in the free-flowing blood. And then it goes into the female Anopheles mosquito. It enters the gut, multiplies in number, and then it goes and sits in the salivary glands. In which disease lymphatics of the lower limbs are affected? This was the last type of disease we discussed in the last class. What is it? It is filariasis or elephantiasis caused by Wuchereria bancrofti. What happens in filariasis? The lymphatic system of the lower limbs is affected. It's a chronic inflammation over a period of years. The leg swells up to the size of an elephant leg. That's why it's called as elephantiasis. So now we start today's topic, that is immunity. Today we are going to talk about immunity, the types of immunity and the immune system that helps the immunity. First is immunity. What is immunity? Immunity is our body's capability to fight a disease. It is the overall ability of the host. Host is nothing but the human body to fight the disease causing pathogen, and it is helped by the immune system. Now, types of immunity, there are various types of immunity. There are many classifications. We are going to go through each of these. First is innate immunity and acquired immunity, and then active and passive immunity, allergies and autoimmunity. Before we start about immunity, let's discuss the components of blood. Components of blood has been a topic which we had read from high school, right? So components of blood is important here because immunity in immunity, WBCs play a major role. So what are the components of blood? What are the cells of the blood? There are RBCs, WBCs and platelets. So the main important cells here are WBCs. WBCs are also called as leukocytes. So WBCs are classified as granulocytes and agranulocytes. If you remember, granulocyte cells have granules in their cytoplasm, and the nucleus is lobular. It is also called as PMNL cell. Because of the lobuled nucleus, it is called polymorphonuclear leukocyte. These are the granulocytes. Whereas agranulocytes do not have any granules in their cytoplasm. They are plain and the nucleus is also a single nucleus. So that is the main classification of WBCs, classified as granulocytes and agranulocytes. And the next we have granulocytes are further classified. They are classified as neutrophils, basophils and eosinophils. What are neutrophils? Neutrophils increase in number when there is bacterial infection. All this is high school biology, but we are just revising so that it helps us understand immunity better. So neutrophils increase when there is bacterial infection. And then basophils. Basophils are larger in size. They increase when there are allergies. Whenever there is allergic reaction, basophils increase in number in our body. Another important thing is neutrophils are the highest number of leukocytes. They are almost 70% in the body blood. Next is eosinophils. Eosinophils increase in number when they are parasitic infections. So basically, they increase in number when there is a bigger microorganism involved in the infection. Granulocytes classified as neutrophils, basophils and eosinophils. Neutrophils increase in bacterial infections, basophils in allergy. Eosinophils are acidophils as they are called. They increase during parasitic or worm infections. Next, white blood cells are classified as granulocytes, and these two are the agranulocytes. Agranulocytes are monocytes and lymphocytes. What are monocytes? Monocytes are phagocytosis in nature. What do? They engulf the pathogen cell. Dendritic cells use their dendrites and eat up the pathogen cell. Whereas macrophages, they simply use their cellular structure or cellular body to eat up the cell. So monocytes work on phagocytosis. And then we have lymphocytes. These are the most important cells in immunity. What are they? T lymphocytes and B lymphocytes. B lymphocytes especially are helpful. B lymphocytes are especially helpful because they produce antibodies. This is very important. Which cells produce the antibodies? B lymphocytes. And T lymphocytes, they help the B lymphocytes in producing the antibodies. They also do a certain amount of phagocytosis. So that's the basic structure of leukocytes or WBCs. Hope it's clear. Now we're going to start the main topic, classification of immunity. Immunity is classified as innate and acquired immunity. That's one type of classification. What is innate? Innate means that is present in our body from birth, right? By birth. Innate immunity is present by birth. Basically, these are barriers in our body that help us protect from infections. Then we have acquired immunity. Acquired immunity is pathogen specific. As we grow in age, we acquire immunity against certain pathogens. So that is acquired immunity. So we'll go in detail about each of this. First is innate immunity. As we spoke, innate immunity is present by birth. So the first type of barrier, there are 4 barriers. The first type of barrier is physical barrier. Physical barrier means that is physically seen. So the first type of physical barrier is skin. Another is mucus coating of the epithelium throughout our body. So the first thing is skin. Imagine if there was no skin. What would happen if skin as a barrier was not there and all the tissues were open? Then all the dust, pathogens, everything can enter our body directly. So always, constantly, there would either be inflammation or infection. So skin basically is acting as a barrier and trapping all the microorganisms, right? So that is innate immunity, physical barrier. And then we have mucus coating. Where all we have mucus coating? All the inside of our body, there's mucus coating. There's mucus coating in the nose, in the oral cavity, in the trachea, in the esophagus, stomach, urogenital tract, everywhere there is mucus coating. So what does this physical barrier do? It traps the microorganisms and protect our body. So that's about physical barriers. And then we have physiological barriers. What are physiological barriers? That help in our physiology. So the first type of physiological barrier is tears. In tears, if you see a small particle of dust fall in our eyes, what happens? Immediately we get tears. So the dust particle is taken out by the help of tears. It's a natural mechanism. But tears also have an enzyme called as lysozyme. So if there is a pathogen microorganism that falls into our eye, this lysozyme will kill it. So tears help in physiological barrier protection. Next is saliva. Saliva also has lysozyme. If our food contains, the dishes we used are not washed properly, our hands are not washed properly, the microorganism can enter into our body. So the lysozyme that is present in saliva kills that microorganism. And then we have acid in the stomach. Usually acid in the stomach is for digestion of food, but also it helps in killing the bacteria. So that is physiological barrier. Then we have cellular barrier. Cellular barrier we spoke in WBCs. PMN cells, monocytes, macrophages, they all act by phagocytosis. What is phagocytosis? The cell will develop either dendrites or their own body will help them in eating up the other pathogen cell. That is phagocytosis. And then the last type is cytokine barrier. This is very, very important. This could be one of your 1-mark questions. What is cytokine barrier? What happens in virus infection is the viral cell will attack the human body cell, normal cell, the host cell, and as soon as it attacks the cell, it hijacks the nucleus. And what it does? It replicates its own cells. So all the new cells produced are virus cells. So what does the host cell do? It releases a substance called interferon. Interferon is a proteinaceous substance or proteinaceous fluid released by the host cell, and this fluid will protect all the neighboring cells. All the other cells are protected and they'll not get infected by the virus. This is a mechanism of our body, physiological mechanism of our body to protect itself. So under innate immunity, we spoke about physical, physiological, cellular and cytokine barriers. There are 4 barriers, right? So physical barriers will quickly go through. Physical barriers, they trap the microorganisms. Physiological barriers, mainly lysozyme that is present in tears and saliva, kills the bacteria. And then cellular barriers, they work on phagocytosis. And cytokine barriers, the important point is interferon. What is interferon is a very important question. It is a protein secreted by the virus infected cells that protects the neighboring cells and they will not get infected. So we are done with innate immunity. Next we are going to talk about acquired immunity. So innate immunity was from birth. So obviously acquired immunity will be later in life. As we grow, we acquire this immunity, and it is pathogen specific. Very important. Acquired immunity is not general immunity. This immunity is not general to all microorganisms. No, it is pathogen specific and it is based on memory. So here is 2 types of acquired immunity. They are primary response and secondary response. I'll give you an example here. Under acquired immunity, under primary response, what happens? As we grow, imagine we get chicken pox infection. So the first response is primary response. Our body is not ready for the chickenpox infection at all. Suddenly this chickenpox virus comes and attacks our body. So what does our body do? It responds is low intensity. Our body is not at all ready. So how is the low intensity? It expresses by the blisters, by the fever, cold, cough. All this fever, cold, cough that we develop during the initial response is called primary response, where our body is not at all ready. The same thing we can apply to coronavirus also. As the people who are positive with corona, Why do they get fever? Why do they get cold and cough? It is our body's immune response to that pathogen. And then primary response and then secondary response. Once our body knows that this pathogen is dangerous, what does it do? It develops immunity slowly. It starts building up antibodies against this pathogen. Once the primary response is over, once we have fever, cold, cough and all that, now our body knows that this coronavirus or this chickenpox is dangerous. So what does it do? It develops antibodies. So that is secondary response. So how is secondary response? It's highly intensified response. Now I'll give you an example here to understand it better. Our country, if it is suddenly attacked by a neighboring country, what happens? Our country is not ready for the attack. So what does it do? With the little soldiers it has in the border and with the little equipment, it fights back. So that is the primary response. It's not ready for the attack, right? With low intensity, with few soldiers and little equipment, it is fighting. So our body is also fighting the same way. That is primary response. Next is secondary response. Now our country knows that this neighboring country is not good. It can attack any time. So the second time they are ready. They have all their equipment moved. They have all their very high priority soldiers placed there, so that once that again that country attacks, they can give back properly. So it's the same way. This antibodies is that preparation of our country, preparation of our body for the secondary high intensity response. So that's about acquired immunity. We'll go further into detail about primary and secondary response. So as I spoke, primary response, first the pathogen enters, there's primary response, and second time there's secondary response. How does the secondary response work? How come it is so highly intensified response? It is because of the lymphocytes. These are agranulocytic leukocytes, right? Lymphocytes. They are B lymphocytes and T lymphocytes. So what do B lymphocytes do? They produce antibodies, right? And what do T lymphocytes do? They help the B lymphocytes in production of antibodies, and also they take part in cell-mediated immunity. There are two types of immunity. Antibodies produced by B lymphocytes is also called as humoral immunity. Okay, I think this is the part where usually people get confused. There's nothing to get confused about. It's like secondary response. It is by B lymphocytes and T lymphocytes. That's clear. T lymphocytes, what do? They take part in cell-mediated immunity. That means individually each cell will go and try to eat up the pathogen cell. That is cell-mediated immunity. It is like individual soldiers fighting. Individual soldiers, they're taking up rifles and fighting the other soldiers. So T lymphocytes are like soldiers. They do cell-mediated immunity. And B lymphocytes, they produce antibodies. Antibodies are like missiles. Once antibodies go and attack, they can destroy the whole pathogen. It is not single cell based, right? So we have T lymphocytes, B lymphocytes, T lymphocytes, cell-mediated immunity. B lymphocytes, they produce antibody. It is also called as humoral immunity. Important. What is humoral immunity? Production of antibodies is humoral immunity. Why it is called humoral? What is humor? Humor is fluid. What is the fluid in our body? Major fluid in our body is blood. So where are the antibodies living? They live in the blood. That's why it is called as humoral immunity. So we spoke about innate immunity and acquired immunity. Innate immunity by birth, 4 barriers, right? And then acquired immunity. Under acquired immunity we have primary response, secondary response. Secondary response we have B lymphocytes, T lymphocytes. T lymphocytes, they work by cell-mediated immunity. B lymphocytes, they produce antibodies, also called as humoral immunity. I hope it's clear. This is another picture showing humoral and cell-mediated immunity. Under humoral immunity, there's antibody production. Under cell-mediated immunity, there's single cell involved. This is just to make things more clear. Now we are going to discuss in detail about antibodies. Antibodies could be one of your short questions. So what are antibodies? Antibodies are nothing but proteins. They are army of proteins. Okay, and they are produced in response to the pathogen. We know about this. And then they are produced by B lymphocytes. Okay, antibodies are army of proteins produced against the pathogen by B lymphocytes. And then we have the structure of antibodies. Antibodies contain, it is because protein, it contains peptide chains. There are two types of peptide chains, two heavy and two light. It is represented as H2 and L2. H2 is two heavy, L2 and two light. The two light are these, the ones here and here, and these are the two heavy ones. Okay, they're all peptide chains only joined together. So once the antigen gets into the antibody, it crushes it and kills it. Okay, that's about antibodies till now. And then we have classification of antibodies also. This particular slide is very, very important. It is very important in NEET point of view also. There are a lot of questions which come on this types of antibodies in both 12th and NEET. So there's one tip here to remember the types of antibodies. There are 5 types of antibodies. There's an abbreviation. It is represented as GAMED. So GAMED. If you remember this, you can remember all the types of antibodies. The first antibody is IgG. It's represented as Ig. Ig is immunoglobulin G. Where is IgG present? It is the main antibody. It is present in the blood. It helps in control of all infections. So IgG is basically for all types of infections. Next is IgA. Where is IgA present? IgA is present in colostrum. What is colostrum? Very important question. Which is the antibody present in colostrum? IgA. What is colostrum? It is the breast milk of the mother for the first few days. Because the baby cannot make its own antibodies, so mother is making the antibodies and giving it to the child. That is IgA. Next is IgM. IgM is the biggest antibody. Which is the biggest antibody? It could be one of the questions. IgM is biggest antibody. It is the first that is produced when a pathogen attacks or when there is an antigen in the body. Antigen and pathogen are same. Don't get confused. Antigen is used whenever antibody word is used. But basically antigen means pathogen. The disease causing organism is called antigen. Right? So IgM, it is produced when first time the pathogen enters into our body. The biggest antibody produced is IgM. And then IgE, this is also one of the very important questions. IgE is produced during allergies. Okay? And then finally IgD. What does the IgD do? IgD is present in the body all the time. It will indicate to the B cells whenever there is infection, come on, it's time to produce antibodies. So it signals the B lymphocytes. We have GAMED. G is for all types of infections. A present in colostrum. M biggest antibody produced when first time a pathogen attacks. E in allergies. D, it indicates the B lymphocytes to produce antibodies. So these are all 1 mark questions, but in case you have a short question on antibody, you can write the previous slide as we showed. We had this army of proteins, and then we can talk about how B lymphocytes produce them, and then we can draw the structure and how it is represented, and then we can talk about all the 5 types of antibodies. That will give you marks for the antibody short question. And the next classification is active and passive. This is another way of classifying immunity. Till now we spoke about innate acquired, humoral cell mediated, antibodies, and now we have active and passive immunity. What is active immunity? Active immunity is the immunity that is produced by our body by itself. We are not taking immunity from outside, not from external source. It is from internal source. It is active. Our body is producing. So what do they say? when host is exposed, antibodies are produced. Our body is producing the antibodies. So this is also humoral immunity. Humoral immunity, where antibodies are produced, it is called humoral immunity because it's present in the blood. The same word is used as active immunity. Examples for active immunity is the natural response of the body in natural infections and also immunization. We'll talk about immunization in a little while. So what are the examples of active immunity? Natural infection and immunization. And it is produced when antigen affects our body, antibodies are produced, that is active immunity. Now it takes time, it is slow. It is slow and takes time to give full response because it takes time to produce antibodies, right? After the primary response, for the secondary response to be ready, it takes time. It's like cooking. You get all the ingredients together and then cook. It's not like ready to eat. You have to spend time. That's why it is slow in process. So that's about active immunity. What is passive immunity? Passive immunity, antibodies are directly there. Externally, we are injecting the antibodies, right? If you can think of one example, we spoke about IgA, where the mother already makes the antibodies and sends it to the child through milk. So the IgA, the child, if she gets an infection or he gets an infection, the antibodies are already there. They have to just fight, right? So example for passive infection is mother to child. It is external. Mother is externally making and giving it to the child. And the response is quick. It is like ready to eat because already antibodies are there. You just have to use them. Another example for this could be tetanus. We will discuss about this in a little while. If you remember this much, active is the natural response. Examples are immunization and natural infections. Slow in process. Passive, ready-made antibodies are given. Mother to child and tetanus are the examples. And the response is quick response. So let's go to the next slide. So under active immunity, we are going to talk about vaccination. Vaccination and immunization. So is vaccination and immunization the same? It's almost same. It's like vaccination is when we inject a antigen into our body. That injection is vaccination. Whereas immunization is the response of our body to this injection. So the response of the host body to the injection is immunization. Vaccination is injecting the antigen. So how is it based on? It's based on the same acquired immunity. It is example for active immunity and also acquired immunity. What do they do in immunization? They take up the antigen protein. For example, coronavirus vaccine, if it comes out, what do? They will take the protein of the virus and they weaken it. They make it either weak or they make it very inactive, very mild. And then they inject it into our body. What happens if they don't weaken it? They directly inject the pathogen. We will develop the disease. They don't want that to happen, right? So what do? They make it weak and inject into our body. What happens as soon as the weak pathogen enters into our body? The response is primary response. All this fever, cold, cough, whatever. That's why children, when they're given vaccination, they develop fever. This is their response to the injection, right? See here, they're showing fever, inflammation, sneezing, cough. These are all the response of the body. This is the primary response. And then what happens? They develop antibodies to this virus. So the B lymphocytes, they produce antibodies. Primary response is by all these symptoms. And then the body develops antibodies. The B lymphocytes, they release the antibodies to this particular pathogen. And that's how when actual infection, this is the actual infection. So these blue color are the antibodies. They immediately kill. They immediately kill that antigen and there are no symptoms. So this is the process of vaccination. That's why vaccination is very important. Many people would not like to follow seeing the children suffer with fever, but that's the response of the child's body to the infection so that they develop immunity. So once here we saw the example for active immunity, and then we are going to talk about passive immunity. As I spoke, passive immunity, external source, right? Examples for passive immunity is IgA. We spoke about IgA, how mother will give antibodies to the baby. And another example is snake bite. In snake bite, what do? They give anti-venom, right? They have poison inside their body. The antidote to this venom is given. So that is also external. So the immunity there also is passive immunity. And then there is tetanus. In tetanus also the immunity is passive immunity. What happens in tetanus? Let us discuss about this. Tetanus happens when there is a deep wound in our body, when the skin is punctured, right? There is this organism called Clostridium tetani, right? This organism, it enters into our body. So what happens is this organism can stiffen our muscles. It's mainly known to cause lock jaw. The muscles of the jaw, they become very stiff, right? And also the muscles of breathing of the trachea, they get very stiff, and the person cannot breathe, suffocates and dies. So it's very important to take a tetanus shot. When it is given when there is a deep punctured wound, especially with iron. It's actually not necessarily to be iron, but they say that iron and rusted nails can also cause tetanus. So in tetanus shot, what do? They have antibodies that are against this Clostridium tetani. Already pre-formed antibodies are there, and they just inject those antibodies into our body. So what does that shot do? It directly goes and kills the Clostridium tetani. Before it goes and attacks the muscles and the muscles become stiff, this preformed antibodies will attack. So passive immunity is external. Example is IgA, tetanus and snake bite. So that's about active and passive immunity. Next we have allergies. What is allergy? Allergy is also immune response of our body. What kind of immune response? It is exaggerated response. Not everybody has allergies, right? If there's a group of 10 people, maybe 1 or 2 will have allergy because they have exaggerated response towards something. That something can be in the environment. It is an antigen that is present in the environment, right? Like dust. Some are allergic to dust, some are allergic to pollen, to animal hair, yeah, and to mites, animal dander. There are a lot of things to people can be allergic to. So these things in the environment which can cause allergy are called allergens. What is allergy? It is exaggerated response, right? And to the antigens present in the environment. These can be dust, pollen and mites, and these are called allergens. What is the antibody produced? IgG, very important. IgG is produced in allergies, and the cells involved are mast cells. What do mast cells do? They release histamine and they release serotonin. What are the chemicals produced in allergy? Histamine and serotonin, very important. What is the antibody? What are the chemicals? So what does histamine do? Histamine usually triggers our secretions. So all the tears, running nose, right? Sneezing, this is all caused by histamine. Another important features in allergies is hypotension. The blood pressure goes down and there is difficulty in breathing. So what are the drugs used? Against histamine, they use antihistamines so that all these secretions will go down, right? And then they give adrenaline. Adrenaline because to increase the blood pressure. Adrenaline will constrict the blood vessels and increase the blood pressure. And then there are steroids to improve the breathing. So that's about allergies, exaggerated response, allergens, IgE, histamines and serotonin, and what are the drugs used. This could be one of the short questions. And then here they have shown how IgE is produced. Plasma cells, and from then IgE is produced whenever an allergen attacks our body. That's the allergen that goes and binds with the B lymphocytes. Next is autoimmunity. What is autoimmunity? Our body cells are killing their own cells, right? Why doesn't our body cell attack its own cell? Because it knows, it can differentiate by memory. Our body knows that this is our cell, this is not our cell, right? What happens in autoimmunity? That differentiation is lost. We don't know if it is our own cell or it's some other cell. So our body starts attacking its own cells and leads to damage of the body cells. So body can differentiate actually, but in autoimmunity it cannot differentiate. This is based on memory. But usually they say it's genetic disorders also, but the reasons are usually unknown reasons for autoimmunity, and it results in the damage of the body, right? There are many examples for autoimmunity. What you can expect from here is it's based on memory. And what are the examples of autoimmunity? It is rheumatoid arthritis, psoriasis, scleroderma, myasthenia gravis. There are many diseases, but if you can remember like 2-3 of them, it's enough. So that's about autoimmunity. And then we come to immune system in the body. So all the cells which are produced, which fight T lymphocytes, B lymphocytes. What is the system that supports this? The system behind the immunity is called immune system, and the organs are called lymphoid organs. What are lymphoid organs? The organs where origin, maturation and proliferation of lymphocytes occur is a lymphoid organ. There are two types of lymphoid organs, primary and secondary. Under primary we have bone marrow and thymus, and under secondary we have spleen, lymph nodes, tonsils, Peyer's patches and appendix. So let's talk in detail about these. First is primary lymphoid organs. What are the primary lymphoid organs? As we spoke, they are bone marrow and thymus. What happens in bone marrow? Basically, we are talking about the production of lymphocytes, right? So where are lymphocytes produced? Lymphocytes are WBCs. Where are WBCs produced? They are produced in bone marrow, right? Bone marrow is the place where all the cells of the blood are produced. Let it be RBCs, WBCs or platelets, right? So first they are born in bone marrow. The main organ where they are born is bone marrow. This is the primary organ. And then from bone marrow they go to thymus. Thymus is also a primary organ. They live in thymus for some time. Where is thymus? Thymus is near our heart. It is usually very large in size at birth, but it shrinks in size by puberty. So once they go to thymus, what do? It's like going to school, right? They go to thymus and they mature there. And what they do? They differentiate into these different types of antibodies, right? IgA, MED. They differentiated thymus. And then we are going to talk about secondary organs. Under primary organs, we have bone marrow and thymus. Bone marrow is where they are born and thymus is where they mature, right? That's about the primary organs. And then we have secondary organs. Secondary organs are like the places where they go and stay, or the places of their work are the secondary organs. So first they are born in bone marrow, then they go to thymus and they mature, then they go to these different organs like spleen, they go to lymph nodes, they go to Peyer's patch. Peyer's patch is also a lymphoid organ in the small intestine. And then they go to appendix. Here they are showing this is the thymus and this is bone marrow. Rest all of them are spleen, lymph nodes, Peyer's patch, appendix. These are all the secondary organs. In secondary organs, first is spleen. What is spleen? Spleen is, it usually filters the blood, right? It is bean shaped, and as soon as it filters blood, what does it do? It traps the organisms, and these lymphocytes that live in spleen, they kill them. That's about spleen. Lymph nodes. What are lymph nodes? Lymph nodes are nothing but group of cells that are present throughout our body, and as soon as lymph fluid, body fluid, lymph is a body fluid, as soon as lymph passes through these lymph nodes, they also filter the organisms. All the microorganisms are stopped in the lymph nodes, and these lymphocytes which went and lived in the lymph nodules, they kill them. The same with the Peyer's patch, same with appendix. What are all the secondary lymph organs, spleen, lymph nodes, Peyer's patch, everywhere, they trap these microorganisms and they kill them. The lymphocytes kill them. And the last one is malt. Malt is a very important question. What is the definition of malt? Malt is mucosa associated lymphoid tissue. Wherever there is mucosa in our body, from the oral cavity to the genital tract, everywhere there is mucosa. So wherever there is mucosa, beneath that there is lymphoid tissue. If this is the skin and this is the mucosa, beneath the mucosa there is lymphoid tissue everywhere. So what happens when the skin and mucosa traps the microorganisms? The lymphoid tissue will kill them. That's why it is present. So what lymphocytes will do? They'll go and sit in the malt. Then they kill. Right? Lymphoid tissue is present everywhere. It constitutes 50% of the lymphoid tissue. Very important. 2 points. Malt. What is the definition of malt? And how much percent it constitutes. So that's about malt. So we spoke about primary and secondary tissues, organs. Primary organ where they're born and mature. Secondary organ, they live there and kill the pathogens. So that's about it. We spoke about innate and acquired, active and passive, allergies, autoimmunity, antibodies, and the lymphoid organs. Here we have a small question here. Let's quickly revise how to answer these questions. What is immunity? What are the various types of immunity? We spoke about how the body fights and how various types of immunity I just spoke about. You can answer that in simple question. Then mention and explain the types of innate immunity barriers. We spoke about 4 barriers. So mention and explain them. Then mention the differences between humoral and cell-mediated immunity. If you remember the soldiers and the missiles which I was talking about, you can answer this question. Then what are the types of antibodies? I gave you an abbreviation. If you remember the abbreviation, you can write the types of antibodies. Then what is the antibody released? And what are the chemicals produced in allergy? This also we spoke about. If you remember mast cells, then what are the chemicals produced by mast cells? Give 2 examples of autoimmunity. And then what are the primary and secondary lymphoid organs? Just now we spoke about it. How in primary lymphoid organs they are born and they mature. And the secondary organs where they go and attack the pathogens. So that's about immunity. That's all for the class today. In the next class, we are going to discuss about non-infectious diseases, and that will bring human and health diseases to an end. So the next part will be the last part. See you the next time. Thank you so much. Sai Ram.